Business time.
Business time. It's business.
It's business time.
What up, all you dwarves, elves, and wizards? Welcome back to another episode of Sweet Sweet Fantasy. I'm Matt.
I'm Ann.
That's right. And this is our Valentine's Day episode. And what do we do?
Ooh, we did The Winter King by C.L. Wilson. It's
Romance novel.
Romantasy novel.
Romantasy.
Anyone who gets my t-shirt knows that I love romance novels as well. But this was Matt's first time.
First and last.
Oh no, really? There's nothing that you can salvage from it?
Probably first and last.
You're not going to read The Sea King next?
Oh boy. I don't think so.
Oh man. Well, maybe after we break it down, you'll realize that there's more to this than you realized.
Perhaps. I wonder if it's like kind of gender based at all. Like I wonder like what percentage of people that read romance novels are women. What do you think?
I mean, I don't want to generalize, but I feel very confident that it's like 90%.
90% women?
Yeah, they're books that are definitely tailored to a women's experience. And there's been a lot, I mean, there's queer romance too, but the genre is overwhelming. Male, female, written for a woman's perspective.
Right. Huh. I was going to say that too. Like, it's probably not one of those things that only women and like gay people like, because I feel like it's only women.
Yeah.
I don't even think like lesbians would like romance novels. They might though. I don't know.
They might.
Who knows?
I mean, what I love about romance novels, they're like adventure stories with women in them, in the center of them, always. And I mean, I only read the ones with like weird fantasy stuff in them too.
Right.
Because like I don't think a college student falling in love with a billionaire is like that interesting. I don't read those ones.
Right.
But I like the ones with like everything I like about a fantasy novel and also the kissing.
Okay.
That's what I like.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, it's about like giving women a space for their fantasies. And,
right.
You know, and like, I don't think most of our media allows for that. Most media is based on like the male gaze and male fantasy. But in romance novels, it's just like the pure id. It's like, this is what I want to see happen, no matter how bananas it is.
Right.
So in that sense, it's interesting culturally as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the things it reminded me of was Pride and Prejudice, which might be like one of the first like true romance novels.
Yeah.
And one thing that categorizes it for me is the characters just don't talk. I'm like, just talk. Because they're because the girl's like, oh my God. Like, Winter's obviously so mad at me because he just looked at me cold or something. And it's like, Winter's not mad at her at all. And then they just don't, they just don't talk. They're both like in love with each other, but they just like don't just like, they're never just like, hey, well, this is why I said that because I was feeling really weird about the ice wolves like biting my leg earlier. So I kind of like, whatever. I had to be mean to you for a second because of whatever. Like, they just don't talk. So the whole entire thing is just like, oh, does he love me or does he not? Like, that's what I hated about Twilight too. Like, I liked a lot of aspects of Twilight. I only read the first one because I couldn't do it anymore. But I loved a lot of it. But just the whole romance part, I'm just like, and I get it. I'm not a 12-year-old girl. Like, I get it.
You're not?
But it's just like,
a little bit?
It's just like, oh my God. Like, he obviously, you know, Bella's just like, oh, does he love me or not? You know, after he was just like, yeah, I like you, you know, I don't know. And another thing that I felt about it, and here's where you'll definitely probably disagree with me, is that I didn't even finish the entire book. I'll just go ahead and admit it right now. Because we're doing The Way of Kings next week. But what is that called? The Shardbear Chronicles?
The Shardlight Archive.
The Shardlight Archives,
I know. I have so many corrections that I had to put in the video for Night Watch. So just know that we are speaking off the cuff
What did you? Well, like you had you like edit it? Don't edit it.
No, I'm just putting in like.
Just let the mess ups happen. I would say.
Okay, well, we're speaking off the cuff, and some of this, there's a lot of information.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares anyway?
It's called the Shardlight Archive.
Shardlight Archive.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I kept on wanting to read that because I'd be reading this and I'd be like slogging through it and I'd be like, all right, well, I get it, and then I tried it. But here's my honest take on it, and I feel like I don't know. It could just be because I'm a douche, or it could be because I'm just a dude. But I would say it was this weak amalgamation of poor fantasy and poor porn.
Oh my god!
Because I'm just like, if you're gonna be a fantasy, make a good fantasy. If you're gonna be a porn, make a good porn. Like both of those are great. Those are fantastic. I understand the value of both of those. But to have this weird middle ground of really crappy fantasy that like a 3-year-old could have concocted. And the porn just be like really crappy too. Like just like his member like grew erect. It's like, dude, like I could write better porn than this. Like what's happening here? But I understand that it's a female perspective and it's just an aspect of, it might be a women are from Venus or whatever. Men are from Mars type situation. But I'm just like, dude, there's no way that like dudes would like this material. Just no chance, So
you didn't think you weren't like attracted to Cam at all? As you were reading it?
I found myself trying to conjure up somebody hotter than Cam and put them like I found myself like taking people from my own life that I'm attracted to and trying to make them Cam, and that didn't even work.
You didn't like her gray streaky hair. I'm sorry, that was just the weirdest detail, and I should have liked it because I have some gray streaks in my hair.
The whole thing was so unbelievably whack. Like the like there was some cook named Bjork. The names were just horrific.
Oh, they were really
I was
funny.
like, oh, cool. So you named the cook Bjork? Huh? What is this? Like, I don't know. The whole thing, it just seemed like she banged it out. Is it a she author? I bet it probably is.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, who knows? But whoever wrote the book must have banged it out in 10 to 15 minutes. Because they were just like...
No, there was a lot of details in the book.
I know, but it's all...
The plot was thick.
Here's all I'm saying. If you were to be like, write a fantasy plot that's like romantic or whatever and give it to any high school writing class, I bet you're going to get like three better entries than like this one was. It just felt so vanilla and lemonade. Every now and again I could get into the fantasy. Like there were some cool aspects. Like I liked when Storm got like really stressed and like an actual like storm you had to handle would come around. That was cool. Like, remember when she was like healed? Yeah. She healed herself with her own lightning strikes.
That was really cool.
That was a cool scene.
Their powers are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like that they're both weather mages.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should do a quick recap of the story.
Might as well.
So it's a love story between two people from kingdoms that have been at war for centuries or generations at the very least. And through some trickery, Cam's dad, I just hate saying the name Cam. It's so funny to me. No offense to anyone named Cam, but it's like romance heroines usually have more like flowery names. But anyway, Cam's dad tricks him into marrying her through some like treaty contract. And I think she's sort of does make the best. She does decide that she's on board with it, which I think was important. Otherwise, this would just be like kind of an extended book about rape. But she's like, okay. She says that she's okay with it, that she wants to do this to help her kingdom and her sisters so they don't have to marry this scary stranger. And she's also okay with it because she needs to get out of Summerlee one way or another because she's afraid her dad's going to kill her because her dad hates her.
Right, and keeps her sequestered in a tower, too.
Yeah, so she hates her life, and she's like, this isn't ideal. I don't really want to marry this gruff stranger, but it'll get me out of here, and I can kind of figure out my own life. And she has, I don't know why her dad was so mean to her, because she has super cool powers.
Well, her dad was mean to her because she ostensibly killed his wife.
Right, but you'd think he would eventually be like, I can use this. It was a mistake. At the very least,
no
I'll
doubt.
try to use her powers.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, but the crappy fantasy. Like, all of it was, like, such nonsense. Like, there was no, like, I don't know. Like, we always talk about how if it's going to be good fantasy, it has to feel real. None of this felt real. None of it. Like the dad was just pissed off at her because she conjured up a storm that like by accident. It wasn't even her fault. She's just a little kid that can conjure storms, and a lightning bolt hit a tree, and the tree branch fell on the wife and the mother and killed her. It's like, all right, that does suck, but his reaction to it after all these years was so unbelievably false, didn't ring true at all. Like, that's just a bullshit character. And so was everybody else in the book.
Ooh. No, her dad definitely was, he was there for one reason, and it was to like create this extreme scenario where it would be okay for her to want to leave and go and marry someone who she didn't even know. And also they really reinforced that she had to immediately have sex with him like that night.
Well, you gotta get to the sex because it's a romance novel. You gotta get there somehow.
I mean, you can do a slow burn. That's okay. I wouldn't mind if they like got to know each other a little bit first, but instead they just like drug each other, bang it out, and then it's then they're on their way.
Then they're on their way.
Husband and wife.
Sparks flew.
Yeah, but then they begin the journey back to his house, which is called Winter Craig. His name is Winter. He says Winter a lot. He lives in a place called Winter King,
Craig, whose name is Winter with a Y.
Right, totally different.
Okay.
Yeah, that does sound kind of like a kid wrote it. But then on the way back, she gets really sick for some reason and is like throwing up and having diarrhea, but she doesn't complain.
Right.
And he really likes that about her.
Yep.
Which was something that stuck out to me because I live to complain. Mm-hmm. And
no, yes, we as men like it when you guys don't complain so much.
I know. It was like, so caveman. He's like, I don't know her very well, but she doesn't complain very much, so that doesn't suck. And I'm like, you have her. You're not feeding her. You're not feeding her what she wants.
No, that's not true. They tried to feed her, but she wouldn't take it down.
She just didn't like it. So
and she also, like, because her dad beat her, like, almost to death, so she has these wounds on her. So as the carriage is rocking, it like hurts just to like exist. Yeah. So that's what he's keeping in mind because he knows all that, and the fact that she doesn't complain through that is what impresses him, especially because she's like of noble birth or whatever.
Yeah, I guess then you're supposed to just read between the lines and understand that like he likes her because he respects her strength, and then she is also like, oh, he's slowing down for me and trying to take care of me the best way he knows.
Right. Well, she doesn't even know that for the most part. She doesn't know that he like cares that much about her.
Oh yeah.
Because she'll just like fall asleep and he'll stop the whole caravan just so she can sleep. She finds it out later when she's really bad and she finally heals herself with the lightning storm. Right. And he tells her like all the good stuff he's been doing for her. Yeah. But she doesn't know that.
And they never have a conversation. They don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. But then they do take a sensual bath, which just has to happen in a fantasy romance.
Of course, they take a bath, yeah. And then she gets to ride with him on the horse, which is nice and romantic.
That is cool. I would love to do that. I don't know how, like, I know how to ride horses, but I don't know how I would ride with another person on one horse. I don't know. I'm just too big. But I don't know how that works without being extremely uncomfortable. But that's the fantasy of it. Maybe I have to try it sometime.
Yeah, fantasy romance. Do they ever in romance novels just make sex like realistic? They're just like, his dick was okay and nothing to write home about.
Oh my God.
He came in about 30 seconds.
No, his penis in this book, she can't put both her hands around it.
No, yeah. What was the quote? She could, I know, I was like, that's like a really big. She was like, yeah. She said her hand barely went halfway around. Right.
The base of his whatever they called it.
I was like, you must have some small hands because that is like that's like, I don't know, that's not fitting anywhere.
But also his hands, this is a recurring thing in romance. His hands fit all the way around her waist with room to spare. So somehow her waist is this big and his penis is this big, and they make it work. And that's the beautiful love story.
Oh, that's the fantasy
of Cam and Winter.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not good. Romance is not good for sex ed at all.
You know what it might be, actually? It might just be porn for women, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because it's kind of like you got some emotion attached and everyone's got a big dick and huge hands and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense. Because it's not for dudes. Because there's no, like Cam didn't feel hot to me at all. Like, just, there was zero description of, like, why as a dude, I would be into her at all.
Yeah.
Like zero. But so it makes sense. I mean,
But I mean, I guess I had a problem with them as a couple too, because they just both seemed like kind of wet blankety. Like she didn't complain. She had cool powers, but she didn't know how to use them really. And she tried her best to like go around pleasing people. And those are all things that I'm just exhausted by with heroines.
Oh, right, because she was so...
And like
she can't control her powers, I gotcha.
Yeah, and her survival too depends on people liking her, so I get why she was like trying to go out and like, you know, make people in the towns like her. But I'm just like, ugh.
The whole thing was just so like wishy-washy. Like, remember, like one point was that if she doesn't beget him an heir, then he's gonna leave her out to the mountain to die.
Yeah, and then you find out that leaving to the mountain is actually a phrase for their justice system. Did you get that far?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it turns out that leaving, because this becomes understandably a sticking point where she's like, well, I found out you're going to kill me if I don't give you a child. But then
Oh, see, well, that's actually a perfect example, because they actually, in the part that I was reading, they do confront that. Like, they're like in the bath before she rides with him on the horse to Wintercraig, and she's just like, well, I hear that, you know, this is going to happen if I don't beget you an heir. And he's like, who'd you hear that from? She's like, it doesn't matter. And he just goes, well, I need an heir. Instead of saying, oh, by the way.
Yeah, he could have explained that.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like, give me a break, you know?
Yeah, so leaving to the mountain means they're brought to this place in the mountain to face a panel of a tribunal, basically, where they say, this is what you did wrong. This is the justice we're going to mete out. And the harshest punishment is leaving somebody just alone in the mountains, or maybe tied up in the mountain.
Mm-hmm. That does seem harsh.
So that's what he meant, but he does not come out and say that to her. Mm-hmm. But he also says, like, well, at the end of the year, I have to get an heir, so I'm going to do this, but if people like you enough, they won't kill you. They'll let you live here. Mm-hmm. But then she had to go and hustle and, like, try to make all these people who hate her because she's from a kingdom that they have been at war with. Her brother killed his brother, who was the king of Wintercraig, the previous king of Wintercraig. So everybody hates her family.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so Falcon, her brother, who does have a cool name of everyone in the book. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
He stole Winter's fiance.
Right, I know that.
Elka. And he killed Winter's brother.
Who was the king at that time?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I didn't know he was the king at the time.
Yeah, and then also some like splinter people from the Summerlee troops like burnt a barn full of Winter people.
Oh, okay.
And assaulted them. So they have reason to hate her. I can't really hold it against anyone.
Sure.
I was kind of like, wow, you're in a crappy situation. And, but like I kept wishing Winter would kind of like step in and make her look better. But all he wants to do, he goes about his day, they have sex, and then he goes back to his bed to sleep in. And they don't actually like sleep in the same bed all night together until like 3/4 of the way through the book.
Huh.
When she uncovers this ice sculpture room that he has.
An ice sculpture room.
Yeah, did you know? Oh, that's another good thing about
what happens?
him. He's really good at making ice sculptures.
Oh, yeah, no, they mentioned that, actually.
And he made this sculpture room in the atrium of Atrialon Palace.
Okay.
And it's all like scenes from his childhood with his brother, places that were special to him. Uh-huh. So then she sees it, and she like sees him as this little boy who's holding on to all this trauma, and then she likes him, or she feels like she understands him more.
I see.
And then he gets really mad, like in that scene in Beauty and the Beast, where he's like, "You were not to come here," because she's not allowed in his ice sculpture room.
Oh, okay.
But then,
Classic.
the walls are broken down, and then he realizes that she cares about him.
That's the thing. I mean, to like make a novel that's like really readable, like you need to build this like tension, right? Like you need to like really care. And like I never felt like the characters were in any type of danger. I always felt that like, okay, they obviously like each other. You know what I mean?
I feel like they didn't like each other, and I kept wanting them to like get to know each other a little bit.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
she succeeded, as far as you were concerned.
I mean, I didn't care. I was like, well, if she escaped, I know that she's not actually going to run away from him, meet someone who's a better match. But if she did, I wouldn't be upset because he's so rude.
See, that would have been cool. Like maybe like somebody like maybe like a rival that she kind of like likes, you know, like
maybe you like love triangle.
She can't decide like who she likes. Like just something exciting. You know what I mean? Rather than all this like, all right, you guys are obviously gonna get married, but they're just the whole time just being like, yeah, I don't know. It just felt like weird and like manufactured. I don't know.
I think that you need to be more mentally seduced in the books.
I think so.
And I do. No, I do too. I was because they get married right away, so
they get married right away.
Kind of takes the will they won't they out of it.
That's true, and it didn't like it just didn't build for me to like a climax. It felt very, very.
You didn't even finish the book. You didn't get to the climax.
I know, but it wasn't like there was just no sense like of propelling like towards something, you know?
Sure.
I just felt like the whole entire thing was just filler. Like, how on earth do I fill these pages with this nonsense somehow? You know?
I think that's sort of the hallmark of a romance novel is that the plot is the arc of the romance, and everything that happens around it is just like how does this affect their romance? And in that sense, I felt like this book kind of had one foot in and one foot out. It had its like foot in two genres, where the romance was definitely the crux of the story, but it also nothing that much happened regarding their romance. Like they don't even spend that much time together in the book, except they go on like one romantic retreat to his like family's hunting lodge. But yeah, I just didn't feel like they spent that much time together to get to know each other. And then there's all this other stuff going on that's like kind of interesting, but they don't tackle it together. They're both kind of involved separately. So yeah, as a romance, I wanted people to actually like spend time together more, be like, how are we gonna figure this out? But he just kind of did his thing, she did his thing, and then at the end of the book, they're like, you're worthy.
Yeah, they talk for the first time at the end of the book.
Yeah.
They're like, by the way, I've liked you this whole time.
Yeah, you're okay. The character of Winter, this like unfeeling man, he can't feel feelings because of his ice heart.
Okay, yeah.
So like he can't feel feelings, and she opens him, and then she makes him feel feelings. This is like a very big trope in romance, and it's one that I have a huge problem with.
You do?
Because I don't want to teach somebody to feel feelings. Like that to me, especially like in experiences in my real life, that just never works out well. Like if somebody is cold and hyper controlled and you're the like spark that spices up their life, you're in a really bad position.
Yeah, but I feel like part of the fantasy thing is that like women want these like rich and powerful dudes, and those dudes are gonna be the type that's gonna be like really controlled and have like all life like really like, you know, just be used to like bossing people around and having things exactly the way that they want it.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, but I mean that's like
I like the ones where they're like basically wild animals, and then the women are like the heroines, like, let me bring peace to your life. Let me show you how you can live without so much violence and conflict in your life.
Oh.
That's what I like.
Okay.
So I guess when you're navigating this genre, you need to figure out what kind of alpha you're into and find like people who write those. Yeah, I did not like this. I am the cold, hard king of winter, but I'm tall. Like, I'm not just attracted to you because you're tall. Give me something else to work with. It's like, I wear a lot of jewelry. Did you note that passage where they talk about how he's dressed?
No.
He wears a lot of jewelry. He wears like an ear cuff with chains and bells hanging from it. He wears several rings. He wears like gauntlets on his arms. I wear a lot of jewelry, and I have a big house, and I have rage problems. And I need to spend a lot of time alone. It's just like, no.
Yeah, he was so mad all the time.
He was so mad.
Like, the second like she would say anything, he would just be the author would just be like, there was a cold fury behind his eyes.
Oh my god, I know.
I'm just like, why?
Why
was there a cold fury behind his eyes?
He got everything that he wanted. He got the treaty that he wanted.
Like, she just said she was hungry or something. Like, why is there a cold fury happening? As Cam said she was hungry, she noticed the cold fury behind his very powerful magical gaze. But she also noticed his sinewy buttocks.
He did have a nice butt. I will say that for him. He's tall. He had a nice butt. Not a lot else to kind of get excited about. He can get really cold.
The whole thing hinged on the fact when they touched each other, they felt ecstatic.
They felt literal static.
Yeah. That was what the whole thing hinged on. It was just like, it was more of a booty call relationship than anything else.
It's interesting. This is the thing that's kind of interesting about fantasy romance, is that you can use these certain cheats to create intimacy, like that, like, oh, I actually saw actual sparks fly when I touched you. Mm-hmm. Not just like it was exciting when we touched, but it's like, oh, there's a visual. I didn't think I liked him, but if my body is throwing off real sparks, this must mean something. Mm-hmm. And also his thing about being able to smell when she's aroused or not. That is such a big cheat, I feel, because they don't have to actually talk about like, are you into me? Why are you into me? Is she into me? Like, he can just already tell before she can even.
Well, I was just confronted by the overwhelming feeling that people just don't have enough romance in their lives when I was reading this. I was like, dude, if you're into this, that just must mean that, like...
Don't just drop this, okay? Just drop that whole thing. You can have different kinds of romance in your life. I mean, just because you want to have a fling with the weather mage every once in a while in your mind. Oh my God.
I mean, yeah, this kind of describes what it feels like to like have sex with someone you love, kind of. But it's like, if you're already doing that, like, then what's the point? I don't know, you know?
Can I tell you a dream that I had about you? I just remembered this.
Yeah.
So I don't know where... I've never been over to your house, but you invited me to your house, and I was like, oh, is this going to be one of those dreams? And then we walk in, and it was this, like, really elegant, like, Beacon Hill style townhouse.
Which is exactly what it is.
Okay, I knew it. Which it had, like, a bucket of orchids in the center of the foyer. It was, like, really nice, but
They're roses.
Okay. But then it was like, oh, okay, we're in his house now. And then you pointed me to this closet full of cleaning supplies. And you told me to clean your house. And you'd be back in a few hours. And then I should be finished by the time you got home.
I'll tell you, this is one of the most poignant dreams I've ever heard. Like, I've heard of women's intuition before, but this one's, like, spot on.
Hey, why don't you come over? Have some dust bunnies that you
Yeah.
should take care of.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah, that might play into like why I read romance
I
novels.
love it. Yeah, that right there, that'd be a good dude romance novel right there. And that was when he asked her to clean and cook. She said yes.
Without complaining. Top to bottom. Didn't even ask for a thank you.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, that's romance. That's what I talk about in therapy.
I'm glad we did it. I'm glad, because now I know. You know, I mean, obviously you can't judge an entire genre by just one book.
No, and this
but
one
I can.
Yeah, well, you can. You can do anything. You are the master of your own universe.
Yeah. In my universe, it's judged.
We're done.
Yeah.
We're back to reading books about men fighting other men.
They're not always
in a
about
manly
just
way.
men. No, come on.
The Shardlight Archive is mostly men, but not all men.
There's women involved.
Yeah, and they're actually really cool.
They're really cool.
Yeah, so. No,
but we'll talk about that next episode.
Okay, next episode. Have a happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. Hopefully you guys stay together.
Yeah. Read The Winter King to get you in the mood or not.
Yes.
As the case probably will be. Because it might give everyone body image issues. Yeah. Anyways, do what you will with that information.
Signing off. Till next time.
Bye-bye.